What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Fathead Cycles YouTube channel. Today we're putting a cam in the M8 motor. We previously did a cam removal video. I'll link it right here, so that way if you guys haven't seen how to remove a cam, you can go check that out first, and then come right back here to put the cam in this bike. So let me get my fat head off the screen and get you guys set up so that you can see what's going on. So as you can see, we have the oil pump removed. The cam bearing is still in the crankcase. All the O-rings have been removed. The first thing I'm going to do is just go through with a 1/4-20 thread chase. Not a tap, a thread chase, which is a little less aggressive, and I'm going to clean out all of the threaded holes. That is so that I get an accurate torque reading on reinstallation. You take the time now to clean your threads, and it will pay you huge dividends later on down the road. All right, next thing we're going to do is take our Jim's cam install tool and remover tool, and we're going to screw it into the crankcase of the bike. I don't know if it's going to pick up on the screen or not, but it's labeled remove right here and install right there. Putting 2 screws in it right now to lightly hold it. It is firmly seated, and then this is a very important portion. You have to measure the depth of the factory cam bearing so that we can set the new cam bearing to the same one. So it's 4.24 inches on this bike. We're then going to remove our tool or our plate. Install our puller into the hole, into the cam bearing itself. Put our pull plate back on. Slide our dowel pin in. That pin is going to expand the puller. Put our washer on. And our nut. Got an 1 1/8 and 9/16 wrench. One holds, the other pulls. Now that we got it to pull it a little bit, we can put a ratcheting wrench on there and make it a little quicker. All right, now that the bearing is out, remove and there it is. Bearings out, ready to go. Some guys are going to say that it is not required to change the bearing when you change this cam, especially if the bike has low mileage on it like this one does. This bike only has 3,000 miles on it, I think. But you're silly not to change it. Number one, you're in there. Number two, see if I can't hold these so that you guys can get a good look. That's the factory bearing that comes off the bike. In between each one of those roller bearings is a little piece of metal that's a cage that's weak. The new bearing that comes with either your S&S cam install kit or your Zipper's Redshift cam, because that's what we're using here is the Zipper's Redshift cam, will come with a new cam bearing. It's a full roller bearing. It's much stronger. It provides less friction for a longer life of the cam. So go ahead and change it out. I think somebody needs to start a rental tool company on the internet like AutoZone does for motorcycles, so that way more guys will do stuff the correct way. So now we have to prepare our plate to push the cam in, and as I showed you guys before, it says remove, that's upside down, it says install on the plate. First thing we're going to want to do is get our threaded pin, put some oil, used motor oil's fine, and then thread it into the install hole. And I just give it a bunch of spins till it looks about like that. Put our adapter on there, and then our cam bearing push tool. Now this bearing has numbers on one side but not the other. The numbers go into the tool so that way when the bearing is installed and the tool is removed, the numbers are left in the crankcase. It's just the way they say to do it. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe somebody has the answer and can leave them in the comment box below. Would love to hear why. Alright, so we put our 4 screws in. Just give them a gentle snug. Don't need pliers, vice grips, anything else. And then you're going to check, make sure your cam bearing is still square on the pusher. And you're going to thread it in. And as you approach the crankcase, slow down. I threaded it in until I'm at resistance, and then I stopped. And I'm going to take a 3/4 inch ratcheting wrench, and I'm slowly going to start ratcheting the cam bearing into place. As I'm doing it, I'm checking my progress because once I get the cam bearing in past the lip of the crankcase, which it's right there right now, I'm going to pull my tool back out. Because unlike the twin cams, if you've ever done one of those cams before, you don't just bottom this cam into the crankcase. It causes setup issues later. So what we're going to do is remove our tool. Remove our press tool, our press adapter, and then we're going to measure the depth that our cam is in. So we started with 4.24 and we're at 4.10. So we're going to place our tool back in the camshaft and push it in another 0.14 inches. How do I know what 0.14 inches is? Well, I don't. It's a slow process from here. It's going to get us close to where we need to be. Okay, so we got the cam pressed in to 4.2360. It's pretty damn close. Before I take the plate off, just so you guys see it, it's Jim's part number 5806-1. It's their Milwaukee-Eight twin cam bearing in remover and installer. It's a must-have tool if you're going to be doing any kind of motor work on the Milwaukee-Eights. It has a nice little place for you to store your screws. Now it's time for the reinstall. I'm going to start with putting a fresh O-ring that it's been lubed up in the scavenge port hole. Per the factory service manual, if it'll go. Go ahead and put some assembly lube or clean oil or what have you on the scavenge port snout. And then you're going to, once you get the oil pump to align with the crankshaft, you're going to press it firmly in place. Take your outer rotor, install some assembly lube on the outside of that, place it in the pump, and then place some assembly lube, not too much, inside of that rotor. And then you're just going to spin that. There you go, until you can get those to meet up. What I also like to do is take a finger of assembly lube, put it back on that bearing, and spin it around so it doesn't have a dry start. Alright, the star of the show, the Redshift 468 cam by Zippers. You can see that it's shipped with a jelly goop on it. That's just a rust prohibitor. That all needs to be cleaned off before you install the cam. So let me go do that and I'll be right back. Got a nice clean cam. And what we're going to do now, again, to fight the dry startup without any oil, we're going to put assembly lube on everything. This is just so that the so that the parts are not dry. So that the parts are not dry when the bike initially starts up. New O-ring for the feed port. Assembly lube for the crankshaft. And install the cam plate. Now, it helps if you install it the right way, kind of like I didn't do the first time. Got our 4 oil pump bolts. Gonna put a little blue thread locker on them all. And just get those started. Take your time here as not to cross thread the backing plate of the oil pump, because I do not believe that that is sold separately. Here, let me take this out for you real quick too. Your oil pump bolts are significantly, noticeably longer than your regular bolts. So just remember that. All right, we got our 6 cam plate bolts with thread locker. And we're just going to cinch them in ever so gently, just until they touch. Right, now we have oil pump bolts 1 and 2. We're going to give those a cinch, but not too much. From here we want to raise the rear tire of the motorcycle off the ground. And we want to rotate the motor with the rear tire several times so that the oil pump will find its center. And I'm going to torque everything to 60 inch-pounds except for bolts 3 and 4 on the oil pump. And we're torquing these following the factory torque sequence. Oops, got that one a little tight. Alright, now the book doesn't recommend it, but I like the idea of doing it. Rolling the motor over a couple more times before torquing everything down to 100 inch-pounds, which is within the factory specified limits. So we're going to come back and we're going to do oil pump bolt 1, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, cinch down 9, and 10. All right, there it is. Everything's at 100 inch-pounds. Go ahead and give it some more rollings through. It's not going to do anything bad. It's going to help bring some oil up into the cam plate for later on. All right, now we need to check the end play in the cam. So we are going to install our timing gear set without the chain using the original spacer. And then install our bolts without Loctite. On the bottom washer, or the bottom bolt, you want to just get some small washers out of your parts drawer to take up the slack that's in there. And just snug that down. We're not torquing it, we're just snugging it. All right, and then roll the cam over to the 2 dots line up on top dead center. Install our cam tool and finish tightening the cam down. Now you want to get your straight edge and you want to measure from the flat portion of this gear to the flat portion of that gear, making sure you're not on either one of the rings. And you want less than 9/1000ths of an inch of play or gap between the two. And just to make sure that everything's square, I always like to double check on the opposite side. This one's good. If you should happen to have a problem, I will put the cam sprocket spacers in. I'll take a picture and put it in the video. If you have less than 9/1000ths, you're good. If you have more than 9/1000ths, you need to change your spacer behind the cam. So now we have to put our tool back in. And break our stuff free. Throw those old washers away. And just so you know, the factory cam spacer behind there is 2.79 millimeters or 0.110 inches. So we can go up or down from there. Now we want to get our chain and find our TDC mark, the little dot. And we want to take our crank gear and make sure that those two lines, or those two dots I should say, align. And then we're going to place it on the bike. Put the original washer back on and red thread lock. Both bolts get red thread lock. Draw the end play out of the cam. Put our gear in there, or our put our lock plate in there. All right, snug that down. We're going to tighten both top and bottom to 15 foot-pounds. That is just to ensure that everything is uptight, ready to be final torqued. And then we're going to break the torque off of each bolt. And then we're going to final torque. Final torque on the crank bolt per the manual is 24 foot-pounds. The cam bolt gets a final torque to 34 foot-pounds. And then remove your lock. Next to go in is the primary chain tensioner. Blue thread lock on both bolts. Start with the bottom. Run that in a little bit and then cantilever, lever, whatever the hell you want to say, up into place and run your top one in. Get those snug. They are a T27 and get torqued to 100 inch-pounds. That is it for the cam chest. Now we're going to focus our attention on the lifters. Alright, get our lifters here. Alright, and we're going to put our pre-lubed lifters in place. Now, I spoke in the cam removal video. I said that it was important to pay attention to the direction at which the oil fill hole, that hole right there, came out of the bike. Well, they came out with no rhyme or reason, and that was a little concerning to me. S&S told me that there is no need to worry about orientation of the pressure feed or the oil holes on the M8 motors. Okay, now we're going to install what in my opinion is a smart necessary upgrade. It's about $40 to $50. It's the S&S Tappet cuff. Okay, this is the factory one that comes out of your motor. It is, I don't know if it'll pick it up, plastic. This solid billet aluminum. I'm sorry, but I just don't want plastic in my motors. So I'm going to rotate the motor until both of the rear tappets are at their lowest position. Then I'm going to install the cuff. A little bit of blue thread lock. Run this bolt all the way down. You don't want to run the bolt all the way down till it touches, but you want to get it close. Alright, I still have some play there. Going to get my feeler gauges, and I'm going to check to ensure that I have 0.002 of clearance between my tappets and my cuff. Then I'm going to torque these to 100 inch-pounds. Now I'm going to roll the motor over to make sure they rise and fall without binding. And I'm going to repeat the process on the front. After both sides have been installed, you increase your torque to 140 inch-pounds. Put some fresh Tappet cover gaskets in, and then our Tappet covers. All of these get blue Loctite. Run all these in by hand. After all of them are finger tight, they all get torqued to 140 inch-pounds in a crisscross fashion. And now it's push rod time. Okay, not going to get too much into the push rods. It's down and dirty, the same as a twin cam motor, but you do want to start with the push rods on the base circle of the cam. What does that mean? It means that the lifters are in their lowest position. Since we cut these push rods out, we are putting an adjustable set back in. So this is actually the S&S Milwaukee-Eight adjustable push rod set. All push rods, all adjustable push rods are pretty much operate on the same basic principle. It's just really hard to do and let you guys see. But here, let me get the other push rod. Alright, so basically what you have is a push rod that screws in and collapses down on itself. Then you pull it out and you lengthen it. What I'm doing right now is getting this to what they call zero lash, which is where there's no up and down free play in the push rod. Alright, what I'm doing now is adjusting the push rod to zero lash. And what that is where the push rod is completely touching both the lifter and the rocker, and there is no up and down play. And it doesn't matter whether you're using fueling lifter or fueling push rods, S&S push rods, that is not zero lash. Does not matter whether you're using fueling push rods, S&S push rods, Harley push rods, everything starts with an adjustable push rod at zero lash. So that, I can't move it up and down anymore, so now I start the adjustment. All right, so put the adjustment on there, and then all push rods have a lock nut on them. You want to run it all the way up against the bottom of the extended push rod. And lock it down. After you get the lock nut all the way up to the top, you're going to take 3 wrenches. A wrench to hold the bottom, a wrench to hold the top, and a wrench to do the top push, or the lock nut with. And you want to secure the lock nut. And then you wait until the lifter inside bleeds down, and you can take your fingers and easily spin that. That needs about another 5 more minutes. So the magic of TV or YouTube, this is all going to be in and adjusted, and I will show you the free play on the front push rod when it's ready. Alright, spend a little bit of time. Let's open this thing up here. Nice and easy. So that's perfect. Now it's time to put the push rod retaining clip in. Slide the upper tube up into the cylinder head. Put the clip in. And I normally take a long, skinny, flat-headed screwdriver and just slide it in just like that. And I rotate it so it looks nice. The one thing that I did forget to say, or did forget to talk to you guys about, is don't roll the motor over while you're waiting for the push rod to spin free when the lifter bleeds down. The valve is actually hanging open as the lifter is bleeding down, so the valve is in a slightly open position. You can overstroke the valve, and that piston coming up is going to smack that valve and possibly bend that valve. So, and then never turn it over first with the motor. Always turn it over by hand first. Alright guys, so that's it. That's how to put a cam in an M8 motorcycle. I got both the teardown and the install videos for you. Go check them out. Only thing left to do this bike is put a tune in the Thunder Max, put the pipe on, put the gas tank on, and ride. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. It's a little bit different than a twin cam if you've never done one before. But it's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. Get a service manual, follow the service manual to a T. Don't use this video as the only instruction you have. Use it as an education tool, as a guide. Get all your torque specs and everything out of the service manual, so that way you make sure you do it right. So So make sure you guys click on the logo right here to subscribe to the channel, so that way you guys get notified when I put up new videos, so that way you can stay up to date on what Fathead Cycles is bringing out to you. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.